Good evening to one and all friends. Morning session we had a discussion related to Competition Act and also industrial policies 1956, 1948, 1991 we are already discussed, and also micro, small and medium enterprises related to this, and also Abid Hussain committee we were discussed, and competition act also related to this we have discussed about these features of that competition act of 2002. Next come to the point of a consumer protection act of 2019. Earlier it was 1986, consumer protection act of 1986. Now the consumer protection act of 2019. On the basis of this information, we should know about the Consumer Protection Act. Consumer Protection Act of 2019. The term consumerism was the first coined by the businessman. First coined by the businessman in the middle of the 1960s, because of they thought that the consumer movement, like any other movement, is threatening a capitalism. The major threat for the what capitalism is the consumer movement, and like any other movement, then the consumerism may be defined as a collective movement of the consumers to protect their own interest. As we know about this, in the industry or a business or elsewhere, without a consumer there is no matter of any business or industry is taken a place. The consumer protection their own interest against the businessman. Consumerism is the organized effort of the consumer seeking redressal, redressal, restriction, and remedy for dissatisfaction. Whatever the restrictions are, it comes from the what business or industries, that there is a remedy for whatever they are get a dissatisfaction they have accumulated in acquisition of their standard of living. It is considered as a social force designed to protect consumer interest in the marketplace by organizing consumer pressures on the business. Like this, the Consumer Protection Act is taken a place for the purpose of it. It also indicates the organized effort of individuals, public, private agencies, and government to protect the interest of a consumer from their unfair, it means opposite to whatever we needs, undesirable and destructive practices of the businessman. Based on this information, the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 is the law relating to protection of our consumers against exploitation. Who is exploiting? The industrialists or entrepreneurs or middlemen or whatever. Wherever they are getting exploitation, they need a protection based on, for the protection purpose. The Consumer Protection Act of 2019 is taken a place through framing rules and regulations. The consumers have been provided with certain rights, and this act aims to protecting them. From the 2019 Consumer Protection Act, they're providing what rights. It means powers. They have their own rights that can be protected through the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. In addition to Consumer Protection Act 2019, there are several other acts. Not only the Consumer Protection Act, with that which can be used by an aggrieved customers, those who are received, such as Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, Sale of Goods Act, the Dangerous Drugs Act. As we know about this in the field of medicines, the Dangerous Drugs Act is also taken a place. Standard of Weights and Measures Act is also taken a place under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. But these acts required a filing of a civil suits, which was an expensive and time-consuming process. This is not a easy task. It means filing a civil suits. That is it required a more expenditure, and also it is consuming so much of time. It involves engagement of a lawyer, and the suit takes years for being decided. And it involves the engagement of lawyers, and the suit takes years of being decided. It means it's what the suit is filing in the case is filing in the court, that is taken its own time. Consumer Protection Act 2019 was notified on 9th August 2019. It was notified in the month of the August 9th, 2019. And under this, the meaning of a consumers. What is the meaning of consumers? We should know about this. Section 2 of 2.7 defines that consumer means buy any goods for a consideration which has been paid or promised or partly paid. It means consideration between the two parties. See, whatever the goods are to be bought by the buying from the manufacturer by the consumers, that should be need a consideration. Without a consideration, there is no matter of a purchasing of a goods and services, which has been paid. Whatever the amount paid, and whether we are not paid, given a promise for paying, partly paid, partly promised. It means half of the amount or quarter of the amount we are paid, and partly promised, given a promise. It means we were given an amount in future days. That is one of the promise, and partly promised, and another or any other another under any system of a deferred payment, and includes any user of such goods other than the person who buys the goods for a consideration paid. Whatever the amount paid for the purpose of what? Taken a consideration from that particular product. Under any system of a deferred payment, whether whatever the payments that cannot be reached, when such use is made with the approval of such person, but does not include a person who obtains such goods for a resale or for any commercial purpose. Then another thing is, for this class, the expansion of a commercial purpose does not include any use of a person of goods bought and used by him exclusively, not only for his personal use, for the purpose of earning his livelihood, whatever he need a day-to-day expenditure, and by means of self-employment. No need to depend into other persons or any other companies or industries. Self-employment, they created a employment generated. Then expression of buys any goods and hires or avails any services. It includes offline or online transactions through electronic means. As we know about this is also one of the advanced technology bar for buying and selling of goods and services. That is online. Then offline also through electronic means, e-transactions, or by telephonic, through the mobile phone we are adding, that can be given or that can be reached to us, or direct selling or multi-level marketing. This is a consumer. And definition of a person. Who is a person? Who is a person? Persons includes an individual person, a firm, whether they registered or not, whether the Mr. X company, whether registered under the Companies Act of 2019, that can be registered or not, that is also treated as a person according to section to 31. A Hindu undivided family, as we know about this, olden days, old method, what we are using in our families, olden days, the Hindu undivided family is also called as a person. A cooperative society is also a person. An association of a persons, whether they registered under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. As we know about these cooperative societies, is also taken a registration under the Societies Regulations Act of 1860. That is also treated as a person. Any corporation, company, or a body of individuals, whether incorporated or not. It means any company or a body of individuals, individual person, whether incorporated, whether it is taken a birth or not, that is also treated as a person. Any artificial judicial person created by law, he is also treated as a person, not falling within any of the preceding of a subclasses. That is also treated as a person. Then the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 is having its own objectives. We should know about this. What are the objectives of a Consumer Protection Act? The Consumer Protection Act 2019 seeks to provide for a better protection of the interest of the consumers. Are you clear about this? The Consumer Protection Act seeks to provide for better protection. What they can protect it in the interest of the consumers. This act seeks inter alia to protect and promote the basic rights of the consumers. As we know about this, what is the basic rights of the consumers? The bargaining rights. The bargaining rights, where it's come from the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. It is also rights or a power. Right to choose, right to hire, right to seek redressal, right to consumer education. Education means we should know about the particular product information, that is in the form of education. Right to health and healthy environment, that is also most important. If the consumers are entering into a particular industry or a company, in that circumstances, whether there is no any healthy environment, there is no matter of purchasing of goods and services by the consumers. Then where it is applicability of this act. The applicability of the act is, this act may be called the Consumer Protection Act 2019. It extended to the whole of India. At a time, they were implemented in the whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. Are you clear about this? Which one is called as a dangerous state? They are also affected the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. It shall come into force on such a date as the central government may be notification appoints, and different dates may be appointed for different states. It means simultaneously, whenever they required, whenever the convenient dates, based on that, they were appointed. And for different provisions of this act. Under this act, there is a provisions that can be made through the Consumer Protection Act on the basis of applicability. Then save as otherwise expressly provided by the central government by notification. This is expressed by the central government by given a notification that this act shall apply to all goods and services. There is no matter of any disparity between the goods and services. Where whatever the goods and services are available in the market, each and every goods and services, based on that, the applicability of this act. If a consumer is not satisfied by the decision of the district forum, whether the consumer is filing a case against the sellers, In that circumstances, they can file a suit or a case that when the consumers is satisfied by the decision of the district forum in the district court, he may apply to the state commission in the state court. Against the order of the state commission, he may approach the national commission also. Not only in the state level or taluk level or district level, they can enter into a national level also. That is also one of the provisions under this act. Then, what are the rights of consumers? Just I will brief about this. Rights of the consumers under the Consumers Protection Act of 2019 provide for establishment of a consumer protection councils. These councils render advice, given an advice for the purchasing of a product or promotion and protect the rights of the consumers. Without the protection of the rights, there is no matter of any rules and regulations or powers. This act aims at protecting the interests of the consumers. The main object of this act is given an protection to the interest of the consumer by recognizing them in the form of rights. How they can recognize? Through the form of rights. Rights means powers. As per section 2(9), consumer rights includes a right to be protected against the hazardous goods and services, a right to be informed, a right to choose from variety of goods and services. That is also one of the rights to the consumers. A right to be heard and a right to seek a redressal, a right to consumer awareness. These are all the consumer rights. You can go through your study material. And next to come to the point of what salient features of this act. What are the features of this act? The salient features of Consumer Protection Act 2019 are as follows. Number one, it is applicable to the all goods, services, and unfair trade practices unless specifically exempted from the exempted by the central government. Are you clear about this? It means this act is applicable to the all the goods and services. Again, there is no matter of any specification of goods and services and unfair trade practices exempted by the central government. It covers the sectors, private, public, as well as the cooperative. There is no matter of any private or any public or any cooperative. It includes all. It provides a 3-tier machinery for settling consumer grievances. This is also most important. 3-tier machinery, it means whatever the settlement disputes are arise or whatever the suits are filed by the consumers, that can be settled through the consumer grievances cell. Then it provides 6 rights to consumer. It extended to whole of India, just I told you. It includes the e-commerce transaction also. Not only the offline transaction, it also includes the online transaction, that is e-commerce. It means whatever we are using through the internet, we can buying and selling of goods and services. It is also protected under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Then the goods and services covered under the CPA, Consumer Protection Act 2019, is a movable property other than money or includes stocks, shares, growing crops, etc. The term service means service of any description made available to the potential users and includes banking, financial, housing, construction, insurance, entertainment, transport, supply of electrical and other energy, boarding and lodging, amusement, etc., and includes e-commerce transactions. We're clear about this. All type of movable property other than money and stock, shares and growing crops, Service means any description available by potential users. It means the banking sector is providing a services, financing, housing, and construction, insurance, entertainment, transport facility, services, supply of electric and other energy. That is also taken place under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019, goods and services covered. Who can file a complaint under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019? That is most important. Who can file? The person, the following persons can file a complaint under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Number one, a consumer who is a ultimate users of that particular product. He can file a complaint. Any recognized voluntary consumer association, whether the consumer is a member of that association or not, whether he is become a member or not, he can file a case voluntarily under the consumer association. The central and state government is also file a complaint under the CPA, Consumer Protection Act. One or more consumers having same interest in a particular group of the consumers. In that particular group of the consumers, whether they want to file a case against this, they can, when they are having a same interest. Legal heir or representative in the case of a death of a consumers. Yes, of course, whether they take an example for the any food. When they are consuming of that particular type of the food, the ultimate result is death of a consumer. In that circumstances also, parent or legal guardian in case of a consumer is a minor, whether they can be who is not attaining the age of 18 years, below the 18 years persons, if they are purchasing of goods and services, but they are identifying some protection, unfair trade practices, in that circumstances, the parent can filing a case, or a legal guardian is also filing a case against the that particular persons under the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Then, whatever the complaints is also comes under the Consumer Protection Act, the remedies is also under the Consumer Protection Act. Then the changes is also taken a place under this act. You can read yourself through the materials. Based on these informations, Consumer Protection Act of 2019 is also an important topic for your examination point of view. You may expect the questions related to this. Define consumer. Explain his rights. Highlight the objectives of a Consumer Protection Act of 2019. You may expect the questions. Write a note on applicability of the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Give an account of complaint given by the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. List out the composition and powers of district forum. In these ways, you may expect the questions in your examination point of view. Then, next topic is industrial sickness. What is the meaning of a sickness? That is the most important. Sick means stop. Industrial sickness is a natural concomitant of the market economy. Based on the finance or money, the industry may take a sick. In the UK, over 10,000 units fall sick every year. United Kingdom. In the USA, United States of America, the figure may be much higher. In the United Kingdom, 10,000, more than that, in the United States of America. A study indicates that during the decade 1967 to 1976, one in four companies listed on the US stock exchanges had turned sick. In our country too, it means that is also taken a place in our country. The problem of a sickness is very serious and is likely to grow worse in the year to come. We can't judge how many industries they may become a sickness. Based on this information, the Companies Act of 2013 adds a new dimension to the nature of a sickness. According to the Act, it was in existence for not less than 7 years when the companies started running for a not less than 7 years. That is become a sick. Its net worth eroded by the losses. Eroded by the losses. There is no matter of any profit. Incurred cash losses for the current year and also the preceding years. Whether in the case of a 2022, they are getting a loss in the also preceding of the years, that is become a sick. According to the Act, a unit becomes a sick if it is fails to pay outstanding debt. Whatever the loanable amount is taken from the different financial institutions that cannot be repayable from the period of 30 days from the date of demand for repayment. Whatever the repayment capacity is also demand from secured creditors for repayment. Demand for repayment equivalent demand for repayment equivalent to 50% or more of the outstanding debts. Company failure to repay within the 30 days from the date of demand, that is become a sick. Extent of a sickness is also taken a place. Causes for sickness. Causes for industrial sickness may be broadly classified into two categories. Number one, that is internal and external. Internal factors mainly related to the poor quality of the top management. That is also most important. Within the industry or within the organization, this is most important. Are you clear about this? Poor quality of the top management. Whatever we have 3 levels of a management, top, middle, and lower level management. In the top level management, they identify the poor quality. Poor quality of the top management may take any or all of the several forms: excessive conservatism, excessive complacency, growth mania, poor financial control, excessive centralization and authorization, weak board and a weak watchdog function. This is most important. In a company, each and every step they have to watch like a dog. It means whether it's related to finance, whether it's related to HR or any other things, they have to watch like a dog. Then excessive commitment to the policies that work well once but not longer appropriate. Poor financial or marketing management and the like. Then external causes can be further classified into two. Industry specific factors. What's the meaning of industry specific factor? These related to stagnation of a recession in the industry. Recession in the industry. Example, textile industry. Competition faced by the unit. Example, small units, rayon grade, pulp units, etc. And excess capacity in the industry. Example, the type of an industry. Then second one, government related factors. This is also one of the important thing for the causes of the what sickness of industries. Government related factors. These include a tax burden on the unit. As we know about this, in each and every year they have to filing a tax. In that circumstances, whether the company is not getting a profit, that is become a burden to an company or an unit, especially import duties, excise duties, and sales tax, legal restrictions on the units, expansion or diversification, as with the style of FERA and MRTP Act, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, and monopoly restrictive trade practices companies, frequent changes in government policies. It means once the government policies is prepared, suddenly whether they are changing rules and regulations that cannot be easily adapted by the companies. Liberal import that compete with the units produce. The government or its agencies going back on its promises made to the unit. Poor law or order situation is also government related factors. Political influence in the unit's affairs. Financial institutions related factors. Next, third one, the external causes can be further. This includes hazardousness in dealing with the unit, delay in providing finance to the unit, inadequate working and long-term capital. Whatever the requirement of a working capital or inadequate means additional capital that cannot be provided at the right time. Their inexpert assessment of the client's financial proposal. Then others. Other external factors include customer resistance to the unit's products, erratic availability of raw materials, components, power, fuel to the unit. Example, paper and sugar industries, aluminum unit industries, these are all the examples. Inadequate transport facilities available to the unit. You know that, as we know about this, without the transportation, we can't able to the products reach to the ultimate consumers. In that circumstances, the say, industries become a sick. Example for the transporting coal and the like. In this ways, the water sickness is taken a place. Next, we should know about signals of sickness. The following actions of a unit indicate that the unit is sick or going to be sick. Straight away, it can be treated as sick or going to be sick. Continuous irregularity in the cash credit accounts. As we know about this, whether the proprietors intentionally or unknowingly they were doing some mistakes, irregularity in the cash credits accounts, they were not maintaining in a regularly, low capacity utilization, that is also one of the signal for the sickness. Whatever they having a resource that cannot be utilized properly. Profit fluctuations, as we know about this, in 2020, Mr. X company is getting a more profit. In the 2021, they may get a loss. That can be continued. Like this, the profit will be fluctuated. Downward trend in the sales and stagnation or fall in the profits followed by the contraction in the share of the markets. As you know, we know that share market is a volatility market. That is also one of the reason High rate of rejection of goods manufactured. See, so much of what effort is made by the companies or industries for the producing of goods and services. If they are rejected, that is also one of the reason for the companies or industries become a sickness. Reduction in the credit summation. Whenever the companies are financial difficulty, they open a separate account with another bank and deposit all collection therein. Reduction in a credit summations and failure to repay statutory liabilities. Whatever the liabilities is taken by the what companies, whether they are not paying regularly in that circumstances, larger and longer outstanding in the bills accounts, huge amount, and also the long term period, whether the 5 to 15 years in that circumstances, that is become a that is also one of the signal for the companies become a sick or industries become a sick. Long period of a credit allowed on the sale documents, negotiable through the bank, and frequent returns by the consumers of the same. Long period of credit, it means 5 to 15 years allowed this on sale documents. Whatever they are having a sale documents, negotiable documents based on that. This is also one of the signal for the sickness of our industries. Constant utilization of a cash credit facilities to the hilt and failure to pay timely installment of a principal and interest on the loans and installment credit. Non-submission of a periodical financial data, stock statement in time, financing capital expenditure out of funds provided for working capital purpose. Whatever they have taken a finance that can be used for the purpose of the what working capital. Other than that, that will become a what sick. Decreasing in your working capital on account of increase in your debtors, particular industry combined with many failures. In case of a creditors, in case of creditors, in case in inventories, which may be include a large number of slow or non-moving items, which cannot be movable from one place to another place. In that circumstances, a general decline in that particular industry combined with many failures, that is also one of the what signals of sickness. Rapid turnover of a key personnel, existence of a large number of lawsuits against a company in these ways. And also it is having its own measures for the sickness, remedies for the sickness that can be read yourself through our material. And you may expect the questions from this chapter, that is define the term sickness of industries, explain the causes for the industries, causes for sickness of industries, state the signals of industry sickness, bring out the effects of sickness, what impact does sickness have on business environment on a country. Like this you may expect the question. Then corporate social responsibility, we heard so many times. Corporate social responsibility, corporate social responsibility is also known as corporate responsibility, corporate citizenship, corporate responsible business, sustainable responsible business. Corporate social responsibility described the body of management systems, tools that help companies minimize their environmental impact, adhere to international labor standards, contribute their committees communities and manage toward a more economically sustainable world. We have to know the meaning of corporate social responsibility. Social responsibility refers to the concept whereby companies decided voluntarily to contribute to a better society and a cleaner environment. As we know about this clean city, for maintaining of a cleanliness that is required so much of expenditure that should be bearable by the companies through the corporate social responsibility. Under corporate social responsibility, company integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations. Then another thing is, as we know about this, whether they take an example for the Infosys company, they were adopting the schools, government schools and colleges. That is also CSR. The definitions of the corporate social responsibility is the continuing committing by the business to behave ethically and contribute economic development. It means the financial matters while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families as well as the local community and society at large. Like this, the corporate social responsibility is taken a place. Then, under the corporate social responsibility, we heard the word that is charity. What's the meaning of charity? Charity is the act of extending love and kindness to other unconditionally, which is conscious act. But the decision is made by the heart without expecting any reward. When the charity is carried out selflessly, there is no matter of any selfish. It is one way act where a person gives but asks for nothing in the return. Whatever he is invested, he is not expecting any return from that. Charity begins with the inward recognition of a need to show a compassion to other, whether consciously or unconsciously. Everyone has a problems or a trouble and griefs of some sort in life, but charity starts with those who learn to downplay their own problems in order to extend compassion, kindness, and love to help other. And some people set aside their own pains or to relieve the pain of others. What are the different types of corporate philanthropy? Philanthropy means investments and activities a company voluntarily undertake to responsibly manage and account for its impact on the society. Philanthropy investment activities include money, donation of products, in kind services, technical assistance, employee volunteerism, other business transactions. The corporate philanthropy is having seven types. What are the seven types? The seven most common forms of a corporate philanthropy are matching gifts. Companies financially match donation that their employees make to non-profit organization. Voluntary grants. Companies provide a monetary grants to organization where employees regularly volunteer. When they are voluntarily, it means nobody will take any initiation for stimulating the peoples. They voluntarily come. Employee and board grant stipends. Corporate award grants to employees and our public boards to donate to the non-profit or their choice. Community grants. Company programs award non-profit organizations that apply a grant based on defined criteria. Voluntary support initiatives. Companies partner their employees with non-profit to provide a specialized support. Corporate sponsorships. This is also one of the corporate philanthropy. Companies provide a financial support to a non-profit then in return acknowledges that the business has supported their activities, programs, or events. Corporate scholarships. Corporations provide a scholarship dollars to universities on behalf of the students seeking support to continue their studies. As we know about this, so many peoples they were discontinuing the education. In that circumstances, the corporate scholarship is also used, encouraging college education and also the workforce development. This is also another what corporate philanthropy. From the corporate philanthropy, we are getting a more so much of a benefits and corporate social responsibility. And the next topic is business ethics. What's the meaning of ethics? Business ethics. Ethics is a part of philosophy concerned with the meaning of all aspects of human actions. Theoretical ethics, sometimes called a normative ethics, is about discovering and delineating right from the wrong. Ethics refers to the evaluation of moral values, principles, and standards of human conduct and its application in daily life to determine acceptable human behavior. Ethics examine the rational justification for moral judgments. It studies what is morally right or wrong, just or unjust. The sources of business ethics. In every society, there are three sources of business ethics, that is, religion, culture, and law. The HR manager in every organization thus have to be well versed with the unique system of value developed by these three resources, that is, religion, culture, and law. Religion is the oldest source of ethical inspiration. There are more than ethical inspirations. 1 lakh religious which exists across the whole world, but all of them are in agreement on the fundamental principles. Every religion gives an expression of what is wrong and right in business and other walks of life. That is a religion. Then come to the point of culture. Culture is the set of important understanding that members of the community share in common. It consists of a basic set of values, ideas, perceptions, preferences, concept of morality, code of conduct, etc., which create distinctness among human groups. When we talk about culture, we typically refers to the pattern of the development reflected in the society, pattern of the knowledge, ideology, values, laws, social norms, and day-to-day rituals. This is a culture. Culture encourages the members of the organization to give a priority to organizational goals. Whatever the goals are to be fixed by the organizations, they were given a priority and above their personal interest. This is the most important. Culture also serves as a sense making and control mechanism that guides the shapes the attitudes and behavior of a people. Next, law. Religion, culture, law. Sources of ethics. Law. The legal system of any country guide the human behavior in the society. Whatever the ethics the law defines is binding on the society. The society expects the business to abide by the law. It means there's a set of rules and regulations. Although it is expected that every business should be law abiding, Law breaking in the business common. Example, tax evasion, hoarding, adulteration, poor quality, high priced products, environmental pollution, and others. In the values, morals, and ethics, business ethics is a personal integrity, ethics and social responsibility, ethics and law is also under this and comes under the this topic. You may expect the questions. What's the meaning of ethics and business? List out the sources of business ethics. Explains the factors influencing on the business ethics. Like this, you may expect the questions. Ethics in functional area. It means the key functional areas of a business are the following: the management, operations, marketing, accounting, finance. These are all the key functional areas of marketing. Sorry, business. Ethics in marketing. What it mean? You probably know that is moral principles that define right or wrong behavior in the world of marketing. The coverage of marketing ethics is wider as it deals with norms in relation to the customers, shareholders, employees, dealers, government, and competition. Dealings with all the above group should be honest and fair. Every professional activities has rules of conduct, and professionals like lawyers, doctors, accountants are expected to follow ethical standards in the field of marketing. This is having its own importance, and unfair marketing practices, unfair advertising practices is also taken under the ethics of marketing. Ethics in advertising. A set of well defined principles which govern the ways of communication taking a place between the seller and the buyer. Ethics is the most important features of advertising industry. Whatever the advertisement is given by the industries, they should follow the ethics. True, there are many benefits of advertising, but then there are some points which do not match the ethical norms of the advertising. Then trade secret is also taken a place under this what chapter, and corporate disclosure and insider trading. From these what ethicals of different functional areas, you may expect the questions in your examination point of view. That is, discuss the ethics in the marketing, discuss the ethics in advertising. What is the trade secret? How it is protected? What is the meaning of inside trading? Like this, you may expect the questions. Then, corporate governance. The next topic is corporate governance. What's the meaning of corporate governance? Corporate governance is the system of rules. It means system of what law, practices, and possessed by which a company is directed and controlled. Without a law or a rules and regulations and practices, we can't control. Corporate governance is essentially involves balancing the interest of the many stakeholders in a company. This includes its shareholders, management, customers, suppliers, financiaries, government, and the community. Since corporate governance also provides the framework for attaining a company's objectives. Corporate governance refers to the way the corporation is governed. It is a technique by which companies are directed and managed. It means carrying the business as per the stakeholders' desires and actually conducted by the board of directors and the concerned committees for company stakeholders' benefit. It is all about the balancing of individual and as well as the societal goals, as well as the economic and social goals. According to Shelfier and Vishay, corporate governance deals with the ways in which supplies of finance to corporations assure themselves for getting a return on their investment. According to Wolfson, corporate governance is about promoting a corporate fairness, transparency, and accountability. What's the concept of a corporate governance? The corporate government is the acceptable by the management of the inalienable rights of the shareholders as the true owners of the corporation and of their own role as trustees on behalf of the shareholders. It deals with conducting the affairs of a company such that there is a fairness to all stakeholders, that its action benefits the greatest number of stakeholders. In this regard, the management needs to prevent variability in terms of the benefits between various sections of the shareholders, especially between the owners, managers, and the rest of the shareholders. The corporate governance, how it is taken origin or a birth. The development of a limited companies in the year of 1856 split the roles of the ownership and control for the first time and created the need for corporate governance, limited liability alongside the separation of ownership and control introduced the risk of a financial irregularity arising from dishonest or incompetent managers. In these ways, the corporate governance is taken a place. Why should we need a corporate governance? Because of some reasons that may be widespread of shareholders, changing ownership structure, corporate scams or scandals, greater expectations of society of the corporate sector, hostile takeovers, huge increase in top management compensation. Globalization is also one of the most important. Like this, the corporate governance is taken a place in our country. This is having its own importance, that is changing a ownership structure, importance of a social responsibility, growing a number of scams, indifference on the part of the shareholders, globalization, takeovers and mergers, SEBI, Security Exchange Board of India. In these ways, the corporate governance is also taken a place. You may expect the questions from this, that is, what is meant by corporate governance? Explain the origin and need for registered companies. Discuss the separation of ownership and management. Give an account of what stakeholder interest. Like this, you may expect the questions in your examination point of view. Committees, authorities is also comes under your subject. Corporate governance on Government of India adopted the policy liberalization, privatization, and globalization. As from the first class, I was told you LPG, not a liquid petroleum gas. Liquid petroleum gas. That is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Since then, several policies initiatives has been taken to boost economic growth, efficiency, and global competitiveness of the Indian companies. Recommendation of the Cadbury Committee. What are the recommendations of the Cadbury Committee? There should be clearly accepted that division of the responsibility of head of the company, which will ensure the balance of power and authority. such that no individual has unfettered power of decision. In companies where the chairman is also chief executive, it is essential that there should be a strong and independent element on the board with a recognized senior member. The board should include non-executive directors of sufficient caliber and a number for their reviews to carry significant weight in the board decisions. The board should have a formal schedule of matters specifically reserved to it for decision to ensure that the direction and control of the company is firmly in its hands. There should be an agreed procedure for directors in the furtherance of their duties to take independent professional advice if necessary at the company expenses. And all the directors should have access to the advice and the services of the company secretary, who is responsible to the board of ensuring that board procedures are followed and that applicable to the rules and regulations. It means set of rules and regulations are complied with. Any questions of the removal of a company secretary should be matter for the board of as a whole. Then again, the Kumar Mangalam committee is also taken a place in your syllabus. Then the next topic is chief executive officers and corporate governance is also taken a place. Then board committee. Under the board committee, audit committee and compensation committee is taken a place under the committees. You may expect the questions from these. That is, what is audit committee? Give an account of compensation committee. Highlight the need for compensation committee. Write a note on nomination and remuneration committee. Like this, you may expect the questions. See, whatever we are providing materials, go through that. If you need a more information, we are also given a reference textbooks in your study material. You can go through that. Then related to assignment, if you are already submitted, well and good. Otherwise, whatever you are writing an assignment, please use the A4 sheets. Write one side itself and staple separate subject by each stages. Submission to the Department of to the Chairman, Department of Commerce, KSYU, Mysore. Then only it will reach that. Is any doubts? You can feel free to call to us. Our teachers, means our colleagues, numbers, phone numbers is available in the website. Or any queries related to any sections, go through our website. There is availability of mobile numbers. You can contact. All the best for your examinations. Thank you one and all.